Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Quick video today, quick live stream in talking about Julian Nagelsman. Now, that's going to be the topic of discussion today because Julian Nagelsman apparently is open to joining Tottenham. Obviously, we are 24 to 48 hours removed from obviously Nagelsman being replaced at Bayern Munich. He got the sack these past couple of days. We all knew about it Thursday night. It was confirmed during Friday that Nagelsmann will be getting the sack and will be replaced by former Chelsea, PSG, and Borussia Dortmund manager Thomas Tuchel. And now it seems that Nagelsmann is open to joining whoever he wants for the future. And as a very young manager, of course, he's going to be highly rated. He's going to be a manager that I think a lot of teams will have their eye on. And none more so than, of course, Tottenham, who were looking at Thomas Tuchel anyway. But, of course, it seems that Tuchel has rejected them in favour of Bayern Munich. So maybe now Tottenham will turn their attention to the young German manager. We're going to be talking all about this and much more in the comment in between about Tottenham and Julian Nagelsmann. But before we go any further, I would like to remind you to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. For now, also get involved in the comments as well. What do you make of this news that allegedly Julian Nagelsmann is open to joining Tottenham? That could make for interesting reading as well, with all your comments and everything along those lines. But for me, I think this is a good opportunity for Tottenham to rebuild. This could be a perfect opportunity to rebuild and have a good manager at the helm to spearhead that rebuild. Look, do I think that Tottenham will make the right decisions along the way? Arguably not. When you consider that, you know, the Tottenham board is still in charge, Daniel Levy's still there and everything. But this could be a very good way to start a rebuild that Tottenham desperately need. They need the majority of that squad ripping out and starting afresh, in my opinion. Julian Nagelsmann comes in, a young manager, fresh, exciting ideas, a long-term project ahead for Spurs. It could be a good start, in my opinion. That's what was obviously meant to happen at Bayern Munich. He never really got his teeth sunk into that, and on a European level to build that dynasty that I think a lot of people were expecting from him and expecting Bayern to kind of stand by him in obviously making that a very long-term thing. Because obviously, like I said before, Nagelsmann is a manager, a young manager at that has come in, built his profile up at the likes of Hoffenheim and RB Leipzig, and was meant to be a manager for the long-term future of Bayern Munich. But of course, it never happened that way because Bayern saw fit to jump at the opportunity to get Thomas Tuchel whilst they had the opportunity to do so. They also saw the fact that the title race is still very much on for them. It's not as one-sided or as one way as maybe Bayern would have liked. And I think with the Champions League draw presenting itself in the way that it had, I think that they thought that maybe a more experienced manager might be able to get them across the line. Whether that gamble pays off or not will have to remain to be seen. So there is a lot going for Nagelsmann in the sense that he's young, he's fresh, he's exciting, innovative, different type of manager to what Tottenham have kind of had in recent years, a more forward-thinking manager, a more attacking minded manager. And like I say, I'm a young manager that could be a very big long-term solution. And of course, whilst he's free and whilst he's pretty much a free agent in terms of the managerial world, I guess Tottenham would definitely consider that opportunity. Whether or not they actually manage to snap him up in time remains to be seen. It is Tottenham after all, so don't be surprised if obviously Spurs this up, I guess you'd say, and miss out on him or decide to look elsewhere. But it's a good opportunity for Spurs, in my opinion. Like I say, this is a squad in need of a rebuild. And when you look at the kind of clubs he's been at before with Hoffenheim, with Leipzig, obviously building them up slowly but surely, especially at Leipzig, where you see that he's had to deal with big players leaving that club in the past, and he's just kind of took it in his stride and used good scouting to obviously get replacements in and everything. I think he'd be great for the job. And I think if he did come into Spurs, he could definitely spearhead a much needed rebuild that club needs. He'd face an immediate uphill struggle right off the bat, with obviously trying to bridge the gap between the fans and the club. So that would be obviously something he'd have to kind of unite and try and rectify, so to speak. He'd also face an uphill battle with keeping Harry Kane. But again, I think maybe to take a forward step for Spurs, maybe they might need to take a backwards one. Maybe they could use the Harry Kane money in order to begin and ignite that rebuild that is heavily needed. Like I say, Nagelsmann's no stranger to losing big players. He lost big players at Leipzig and was able to buy him in. Probably not to the big player extent that Harry Kane is, but at the same time, I think that Tottenham are going to be facing a massive uphill battle to keep him anyway, because of obviously the player Harry Kane is. I think with the big manager going in Antonio Conte, it obviously weakens Tottenham's position even more. And of course, his contract's running down. Kane is not getting any younger. And if he wants to obviously leave a bit of a Premier League legacy and say that he, of course, won something during his time, other than, of course, that infamous Audi Cup, of course, he will need to definitely leave Tottenham to achieve that. This is going to be a long-term project that should see Tottenham take progression in 3 or 4 years' time, and maybe start to then maybe build something. Obviously, Daniel Levy is going to give him the resources and the funds and everything else that he's going to need to succeed. But again, do I really think that will happen? Probably not. Probably not in terms of, or to the full extent anyway. Maybe he will get something, but I don't think he'll get it to the full extent. Similar to what Conte is getting right now at Spurs. He's getting something, but it's not to the full extent of what he probably desires, wants, and needs, and hence why this whole Conte thing has been a bit of a failure right from the get-go. But yeah, I'm very intrigued to see if this obviously does take place. I'm very interested to see what the future holds for Tottenham. Obviously, it does seem that Conte and Spurs, their relationship is ending. I'm surprised with obviously what came out after their previous game. Nothing has happened as of yet. I think obviously it might have, if obviously Bayern had to let the opportunity to sign Thomas Tuchel. But it will be interesting now that Nagelsmann is free to see whether or not Tottenham snap up this guy. And like I say, as a young, progressive manager, attacking minded, young, fresh, innovative, I think he could be interesting going forward. Like, his record at Bayern was still pretty good. And now that he has that obviously big club experience as well to add on to the experience he has at the likes of Hoffenheim and Leipzig, it definitely could make his case stronger to manage that Tottenham side, managing bigger players, obviously managing on a Champions League level as well. It definitely could make it interesting. And I, for one, think that Tottenham definitely should snap up this opportunity whilst it is presenting itself, and whilst they seem to have a clear run at him. Let's face it, right now there's not many teams in Tottenham's position that are possibly in need of managers. Someone with a potential to build, but whether or not they'll get what they want and what they desire when coming in, it is another story and another matter in itself. But this one could be very interesting to obviously keep your eyes on. I think this is a very good opportunity for Spurs, and I would say that if they want to try and rebuild for the future, if they want to try and build something for the long term, I'd say definitely go for this guy. Like, Conte's failed. Conte doesn't want to stay there anymore. Just cut your losses. I know it's going to cost a hell of a lot of money, but at the same time, maybe again, to take a forward step, you might need to take a bit of a step back, and obviously that would be a big step back. Tottenham don't like to lose money, and obviously they'll have to with Conte. But then again, Tottenham did dig their own grave by signing him. They knew exactly the kind of person they were going into business with. They knew his history. They knew what exactly he does in these types of situations, but Tottenham didn't learn. Tottenham didn't think about it. And henceforth, Tottenham messed up a little bit with this whole Antonio Conte thing. But they have a chance to put it right. And they have a chance to put it right with a long-term project, a long-term solution in Julian Nagelsman. He could definitely do something with this club for the long term. Someone who obviously has built up the profile of like an RB Leipzig, for example, across the Bundesliga and across Europe, lost big players, manages to keep going, manages to keep that wheel spinning, so to speak, of turnover and everything in terms of squad personnel and everything. And I think this could be a big opportunity for Spurs that I think they should definitely consider and maybe go on to take in the end, because where else do Spurs turn from here? Spurs have tried the tried and tested in the likes of Conte and the likes of Mourinho. They've tried someone different in Nuno Espirito Santo. And the only time that their club seemed to work and seemed to go forward was under Pochettino, a guy who was a long-term guy, a project guy, didn't quite get them to obviously winning trophies and everything, but got them mightily close. Nagelsmann, being a younger coach, with fresh ideas and everything, he might be that next Pochettino, but because of his youth and because of everything that he brings to the table, could be that guy to be a Pochettino in terms of a rebuild, but could also be a step up from Pochettino in terms of maybe delivering Tottenham a couple of trophies along the way. It could be very interesting to see, obviously, if this goes ahead or what the future holds for Julian Nagelsmann. What the future holds for Tottenham. Obviously, we know that their relationship with Conte is kind of just fading out towards its inevitable conclusion. It's going to be very intriguing to see what is going to happen with this potential story, or how these two separate things may go about their business elsewhere. But those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of the news that Julian Nagelsmann might be open to interest from Tottenham Hotspur to take over as their next manager, following on from Antonio Conte, who obviously, like I say, is looking set to be either sacked or just run down his contract at the end of the campaign? I'd love to know what you guys think on this particular topic. What are your own thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on this particular topic? I'm sure that will all make for interesting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video or live stream, and subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. Thank you all so much for watching and listening, and I'll see and speak to you all again soon in another live stream or video.